We're gonna do the Noah Samsen, Ethan Klein lawsuit response. There's an update on the lawsuit.
It's me, Noah, long time no see. Today I'm going to talk about being sued, or being threatened with a lawsuit at least. I haven't actually been sued yet. Ethan Klein and Mutahar from Some Ordinary Gamers have said that they plan on suing me for defamation. They're doing this in response to a video I posted in March called The YouTubers Who Backed a Genocide. I brought up these legal threats in another video of mine, but they decided to escalate things by paying a lawyer to write a cease and desist, which they sent to me in late March, and in it they ordered me to retract my video within 3 weeks or get my little ass sued. Ethan Klein went on to read the cease and desist on his live stream and repeat this threat over and over again on subsequent episodes.
He started his second video by saying, Ethan's threatened to sue me. It's not a threat. I'm going to sue you.
Oh.
Wait. I'm literally going to sue you for defamation. Noah said in his second video, Ethan's threatening to sue me. Have fun with that, I guess. He said, well, I'm about to have fun with it, and unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be having much fun with it.
He didn't respond to my video by his own admission. He just read what his lawyer wrote for him and then said that his full response would happen in court.
I know he wants me to respond to every point in his video, which I will do in a much more formal setting.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
And I can't wait for you. You know, you can do your cute little videos and all that kinds of business on your YouTube channel. But when it comes to, you know, I'd love to see you reason out in a court document about how I and Mutahar support genocide. I really look forward to that.
Despite all of the threats from these guys, as I said at the outset, I haven't been sued yet. It's been over 3 weeks since the retraction deadline, and as you may see on my channel, the video is still up. Here's a clip of the last time Ethan even mentioned it, which was over 2 weeks ago.
Noah Samsen, he has missed his deadline. Actually, Mutahar is in the chat. What did he say? Did you see that Noah's apparently moving out? Yeah, he's sorry, no video, been moving, etc. Video coming soon. It's amazing how nobody wants to respond to me. Everybody goes cold feet. If you're going to level an attack against me, the least you could do is respond.
God, I love this, man. Why won't you play with me? Why does no one want to play with me? Come on. Ever since the retraction deadline passed, the ball has been in Ethan's court. Not responding to a cease and desist is a response on its own, right? According to these people, I'm still actively defaming them because my video is still public, so it's on them to do something about it. But again, aside from some beautiful bills, my mailbox remains empty. If you're wondering where I've been, there's a few reasons I haven't really been able to post much. I've had some personal things going on. I recently moved. I also got doxxed by a certain community of fans of a certain podcast, which I'll talk about in another video. But one of the things that I've been dealing with is preparing for the possibility of being sued. This is all new to me. I've never been sued, and I've never sued anybody, so I had to spend some time and money learning about defamation law and talking to lawyers and free speech organizations. One thing I was definitely advised was to not post for a little while because, you know, anything said online would very likely be used against me in a potential lawsuit. Now, it is possible that these people might still sue me because rich people can do whatever they want, whenever they want, including sue whoever they want at any time for any reason. But it's worth noting that Ethan has also been a bit preoccupied in recent weeks, going beast mode in some live debates in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
What?
What? You don't know what I'm talking about?
What is?
What? Yeah, it was on the list. You're lying.
Yeah. I got a free Rolex hat from a friend of mine. I still wear it every now and then.
Yeah, and you're oh wow, who knew? All right, listen, it's 5 o'clock. Like I said, I have a family to go to. I have 3 kids and a wife, and I know that you have a cool ass race car bed to sleep in, and I hope you enjoy that.
Okay, man. Thank you. Have a good one.
And dealing with another very real defamation lawsuit that he's currently losing to a former billionaire, which is a thing that's actually happening right now. He could be on the hook for a lot of money, which is crazy. So maybe he's just busy and going to get around to it eventually. Personally, though, I don't think they're going to follow through with these threats for a few reasons, but the biggest one is just that they don't have a case. I think it's pretty clear that this cease and desist was sent to me with one goal, which was intimidation. It was an attempt to silence my criticism of these creators' genocide, apologia, and participation in baseless smear campaigns against pro-Palestine creators and movements.
All he has to do to avoid getting sued is apologize for everything he said and did, admit he was either lying or ignorant, and erase the video, and also just disgrace, like, and just accept the disgrace that is basically lying about two people being pro-genocide, which is one of the most twisted things you can accuse someone of.
This sort of thing often works because most people just don't have the resources to deal.
What is this? Anyone siding with Israel or Palestine isn't a genocidal freak. Maybe they're less informed because they have more to do in life than politics and history day and night, you high-headed snob. Okay. Your indifference to the genocide of the Palestinians still puts you in the genocide air camp. You're right. If you're coming in here, then at least you're on accident learning about what's going on, you know? It's been going on for 17 months. Doesn't seem like you got too much work on your plate since you're taking the time out of your busy ass day to come in here to chirp, you bitch.
Deal with a lawsuit. In my case, I don't have the resources either, but what I do have is you, an audience of people that have been very vocally supportive of the potential for contributing to a legal fund. I'll be honest though, I would prefer it if they didn't sue me. Not because I think they have a case, nor because I don't think we can raise the money. It's just that I don't feel comfortable fundraising for legal fees right now, given the many better places that money could go, like aid for the people being subjected to this ongoing genocide. Seeing as they haven't sued me yet, that's what we're gonna do. That's what this video is for. It's a fundraising video. I started a fundraiser for UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. The donation link is in the description. I'll also be hosting a fundraising live stream with some special guests and some gaming and hanging out and other things of the sort, which will start on Saturday, May 17th at 2 p.m. Pacific time and probably go for a few days. I don't usually stream, but I'm thinking of playing some games, maybe set up an air mattress and do a sleeping stream. I've seen that before. It looks fun. I've set the goal at $200,000 because that's what I was actually quoted as being a safe amount to fundraise in order to be able to afford a potential prolonged legal battle against Ethan and Mutahar, which is crazy, right? That's a lot of money, but I was also thinking we could show them that that's a figure we can achieve if we need to, and instead of it going to a lawyer for some YouTuber lawsuit, it would go to Gaza. If these guys actually do decide to sue me though, in terms of the actual lawsuit, again, I'm not too worried. I told the truth and said what I believed, and I'm prepared to defend it in court should it make it that far. If that does happen, I'll just do another fundraiser, I guess, and then we can donate whatever we don't use once the case gets dropped. It could be a little or it could be a lot. That all depends on how long these guys want to drag this out.
As Norm Finkelstein says, they're afraid of the truth. If they believe they are right, let the argument speak for itself. If they cannot counter, they resort to silencing. Yes, that is why, look, defending a genocide is virtually impossible because from birth, you learn that that is wrong, okay? And ironically, the major incident that people point to say genocide is wrong is the Holocaust. So once that baked into the collective consciousness of every single person, it's going to be really hard to now turn around and be like, yeah, genocide is bad, but this one is good. And that's precisely the reason why people that want to defend Israel and Israel's genocide will have to turn around and say, yeah, okay, well, you're just anti-Semitic. You should stop talking. You should stop talking. You should not be allowed to have a platform to speak out against this atrocity. Which I think is not an atrocity, but it's actually good. And more of it should happen. Or I guess in Ethan's case, he says, it is a genocide, but you should shut the up about it and only talk about how my feelings are being hurt in the process. I'm the biggest victim here, you know? Look, see? No one is defending a genocide, and there isn't one happening in Gaza. Had Israel wanted one, they would have carpet bombed Gaza. Okay, man.
I want to talk a bit more about the case.
Like, the very fact that, I mean, first of all, you are straightforwardly a Holocaust denier, okay? And this is not a historic atrocity. This is an ongoing atrocity that's unfolding in front of our eyes. So, you know, you have literally no excuse. So I am going to ban you. Have fun. Have fun being a loser who has no moral compass whatsoever and then resort to lying in the future about what your position was at this very moment when the dust settles, you know? Oh, I was always against it. I promise.
cease and desist, and a few other things. But first, we need to do a sponsor break. I gotta do sponsors because my videos get demonetized and I don't post that much. Support me on Patreon if you want to stop seeing them. Thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring this video. Delete Me is a data removal service that makes securing your online privacy simple, affordable, and effective. Your personal data is being sold online by data brokers. Anyone can buy them, which means you're potentially at risk of being harassed, doxxed, or attacked due to any publicly expressed political views, opinions, or even, your occupation. Delete Me offers comprehensive scanning across hundreds of data brokers, including emails, phone numbers, social media accounts, physical addresses, and more. The process is really simple. First, you'll fill out a search removal form. Then once you pay securely, Delete Me will begin the process immediately. You can also request custom removals by sending specific links and run online scans to self-select the data that you want removed. I've used and trust Delete Me because as an online public figure, it's obviously a helpful option to have, but I think those benefits also extend to anyone with any sort of online presence, which is most people. Take control of your digital footprint today and protect your personal data with Delete Me, your trusted partner in online privacy. Get 20% off Delete Me consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/sam.
Normal people are also repulsed by terrorist sympathizers. Yeah, I know. That's why they're repulsed by people who defend Israel. Like, unironically, you're right. Exactly. Normal people are repulsed. Like, who do you think gets to operate in broad daylight, go out without any fear of coming across as repulsive? Like someone such as myself or someone like you? Be honest with yourself for a brief moment. Close your eyes and imagine a world where you and I are standing side by side. We don't know one another, obviously, and we're standing at a coffee shop. Okay, we're in line to get coffee. Who do you think is going to come across as more repulsive? Guy who is a Asmongold fan or someone like myself? Ask yourself this question. You don't even need to answer. Just think. I'm not pro-Israel, but I'm also not pro-Hamas or Houthis. Yeah, no, you're pro-nobody. Got it. Okay. Do you think Israel is committing a genocide? Do you think Israel's an apartheid state? Do you agree with with virtually every single human rights organization? The United Nations, that Israel's an apartheid state that's committing a genocide? Yes or no? This guy left already. I think he just, ceased to exist. He said, the Houthis 2011 account, this is a 45-year-old? No, I know. Why is this guy not? I'm going to shake him a little bit so he responds faster. You broke him?
Samsen, and use my promo code Samsen at checkout. All right, now let's get back to the video. Okay, so about that.
And no, by the way, he is not 14 years old. Are you kidding me? He has a 2011 account. He started his account in 2011. This is literally a 45-year-old. It's not a child that's typing this. He's roaching out. You should finish watching the Context Nuke as a guest on Noah's charity stream. I think I might I'm 32 chat. Oh, that's embarrassing, bro. Oh, dude, why did you reveal that? Oh no, we've lived on the planet for pretty much the same exact time and you are this stupid? Oh no. Bro's coming into the chat of a political commentator and typing Hamas with 2 M's and Houthis like this to be like, I'm gonna own you, dude. God damn, brother. God damn. Sometimes it's better to just kick back and maybe on accident, through pure coincidence of finding yourself in a community such as this one, it's good to kick back and just listen. Maybe you can learn a couple things. Notice how he did not respond to my question when I said, do you agree with human rights organizations and the UN that Israel is an apartheid state that is currently in the process of committing a genocide? And instead responded to people speculating, myself included, that he was 45 years old, only to reveal that he is 32 years old, which is still incredibly embarrassing. He's waiting on Grok. He's not going to get the answer from Grok that he wants to. Answer my question, chatter. You got the floor.
That defamation case, it really seems like none of the people that are supporting or promoting this lawsuit have any clue what defamation actually is. So I want to go over that very briefly.
I guess it's a genocide, but not sure. Okay. I assume you don't even know what an apartheid is, right? Like, is that, I assume You don't know what an apartheid is, considering that you just completely avoided that line of questioning. But let's say you think it's close to a genocide, right? You're like unsure, which is ridiculous because all of these other organizations that are on the ground and conducting forensic analysis and also giving their professional assessments, including virtually every single Holocaust scholar has already... What? If Israel wanted to kill them, all they would have done by now, apartheid, yes. No, that's not how genocide works. Like the whole like, oh, they could have killed them harder, so it's not a genocide is a stupid argument. Okay? But apartheid, you say it's an apartheid state, great. If you recognize that it is an apartheid state, which it is, and you recognize that it's close to being a genocide, even though it actually is a genocide, right? Okay. Don't you think people have a right to resist against that? Do you place a lot of blame on the Jews for the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising? Do you place a lot of blame on the ANC for resisting against the apartheid in South Africa? Those were, fairly comparable circumstances. So you'll be with Noah this Saturday. Did I not understand wrong? I said I'm gonna go on. I'm going to go on Noah's broadcast. But I was thinking of like independently fundraising for him while watching the rest of the Context Nuke potentially. I guess Hamas is way more justified than the Houthis. Wait, what? No. What do you mean? Okay, it's cool that you are at least reasonable. Hamas with one end, Houthis is not like this. Okay, this person is unlearning reactionary sentiment right before our eyes. This is great. Okay. During the Holocaust, during World War II, when Jews and other political dissidents and marginalized communities were being rounded up and being sent to concentration camps, there were a lot of resistance groups that were not German Jews themselves. They also aided the Allied forces. Okay, they were not directly related to the conflict. They were not directly being undermined, and yet they worked on disrupting supply lines, for example. Do you feel like those people were doing the right thing? Do you feel like they were morally on the right side? And I'll take it one step further. A lot of people talk about the Houthis being homophobic or being, anti-women or any number of different things. Okay? The United States of America had de facto and also legalized segregation at the point of World War II. And yet the Americans, I think you and I would both agree, were on the right side of history in World War II, regardless of the fact that it was segregationist, homophobic, and anti-women. So if you don't actually add that into your assessment when you're calculating who was on the right side and who was on the wrong side of World War II, then why are you making that decision right now for the Houthis right now as an ongoing genocide is taking place that you're almost certain is a genocide, but you're kind of unsure? Do you feel like disrupting supply lines that were aiding the Nazis during the Holocaust was the appropriate thing for other third parties to engage in, regardless of their political background and their perspective? Do you understand why it doesn't make sense? My big problems with these groups is holding civilians captive. I can never apologize that. Yes, they have released those civilian sailors since then. Is it okay now? Because once again, you have to calculate the greater harm that is being conducted while making this assessment of people that are resisting against said greater harm. Okay? Especially considering that the number of hostages, look, you're not understanding my point. Okay? If the Norwegian resistance held train conductors captive in the process of overtaking trains that were aiding and abetting the Nazi supply chain, some of those supplies going to German nationals, civilians, as a matter of fact, would you hold that against the Norwegian resistance during World War II? Would you say they were in the wrong? I guess Israel's the bigger evil, but that's not how I roll. Bad is bad. Okay. Someone comes up to you and your entire family. They have a gun. Okay. They shoot your mother directly in the head after breaking and entering into your home. Your neighbor hears the gunfire, comes over, and actually slaps the person that shot your mother in the head with a gun while he was in the process of actually coming to shoot you in the head? Do you actually tell the guy who slapped the person who's about to shoot you in the head, stop, wrong is wrong? Do you feel like these two things are just kind of neutral and totally comparable? Like, these are, wrong is wrong, slapping someone is wrong. Do you feel like it was appropriate for the person, your neighbor, to come in and slap the gun out of the hand of the shooter? Okay? Arresting people is just unimaginably unacceptable to this chatter, but don't ask me about the state taking migrants captive and imprisoning them for life without any judicial process, but they were refugees who had yet to get approval. Bad is bad. Do you say, hey, man, wrong is wrong? And if you want to say, okay, well, the people that were, the Filipino people that were on the boat had nothing to do with Israel. They were working for an Israeli company, and in the process, they were held captive for over a year. Let's say someone actually saw the gunman shoot your parent, okay, and was like, oh, I love when people do mass shootings. Let me go give this person more ammunition, and your neighbor apprehended them in that point. Do you feel like it was appropriate for your neighbor to apprehend the person that was bringing bullets to your gunman? Or would you simply say, wrong is wrong, sir? No, you have to ask within your 80 IQ analogies. Yeah, what do you want me to do? I'm talking to someone who's 70 IQ. I already described to him a historically relevant point, and he just doesn't comprehend it, so I'm trying to dumb down the argument. What do you say to someone who says bad is bad when talking about other militant groups that are morally on the right side against a nation state that is currently conducting a genocide? What do you want me to say to that person? I'm trying to dumb down the argument to a point where he can understand it. Yeah. Arrest and detention of civilian merchant crews during World War II took place by coalition forces, and they did that to haul arms and material to Germany, and no one bats an eye towards that. There was a group of Norwegian resistance fighters in World War II that effectively prevented the Nazis from developing an atom bomb by disrupting Nazi heavy water shipments. They had to blow up a civilian ferry at one point and are still considered heroes. Where's the chatter? Did he respond to any of the things that we just mentioned? No, 1 year captive is way worse than slapping. Brother, we just talked about the Norwegian resistance in World War II that blew up a ferry. Okay? 1 year captive is way worse than slapping. Is ridiculous. You're trying to go. Okay, they held them hostage. Okay? The person was bringing ammunition to the person who shot your mom and is in the process of shooting you. They held them hostage for the duration of the shooting. Ferry with civilians or just supplies? I'm losing my mind, dude. It's interesting. Nah, dog, you said slap. What? Not 1 year captive. Okay, now they're holding them captive for the duration of the shooting. Is that inappropriate and unacceptable? The entire point of this analogy isn't to go into the weeds of is it a one-to-one comparison. That's not how analogies work. The entire point of this analogy is to help this person understand that there is proportionality here, okay? If there is a party that is the most powerful nation in the region, that is a nuclear armed power, that is a 77-year apartheid state that is currently in the process of conducting a genocide, that the poorest nation in the region actually implementing a blockade along its coastline in an effort to harm the responsible party for the genocide economically, it is an appropriate action to take, regardless of whether you agree with the methods or not. That's it. That's it. And hyper-focusing on the 18, I believe, Filipino boatsmen that were taken in that process, instead of yelling at the Israeli shipping magnate that literally knew that there was a blockade being implemented and still forced the Filipino boatsmen to go through that route, hoping that they would be fine and being incredibly careless about their well-being, is idiotic to put the blame on for the group that is actually trying to do something, anything within the limited powers that they have. So that's the reason why I tried to dumb down the goddamn argument, but it didn't matter to him. Anyway, if you want to yell at somebody, yell at the Israeli shipping magnate that actually said, "No, I'm careless about the well-being of the people that work for me. I'm still going to force them to penetrate a blockade." Whose fault is that? Hold on, are you suggesting that arresting civilians who are paid to sail through a blockade in your territorial waters is not as bad as genocide? Yeah, I mean, when you try to have a normal conversation with people like that, they unironically do take this approach because deep down inside, they know their argument is stupid and they feel a little embarrassed, I think. So they have to just maintain this like idiotic posture. And I get it. It's embarrassing to feel wronged. It's embarrassing to recognize that you don't really have a reasonable position here. So you just kind of close your eyes, close your ears and go, la, 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 I can't hear you. It's all right. The adult thing to do in this situation is to learn from this and self-reflect and stop advocating for these stupid things that you're advocating for. That's it. And therefore, you will never have to feel the shame that you feel in this very moment ever again. Okay? That's it. Do you get it? Did that chatter respond, by the way? Did that chatter actually respond? Nope. He just checked out, huh? That's crazy.
Somebody a supporter of a genocide is a very different thing than saying somebody's career is cooked or saying that somebody fell off or making a video about an internet drama. One of them is a real legitimate thing where people are bad. And the fact is that this is totally different than just a drama slop thing. This is completely different.
For someone to be found liable for defamation, there's a few bars that need to be reached. First, the plaintiff must establish that the allegedly defamatory claim is a statement of fact. Next, that statement of fact must be provably false. It also must have caused demonstrable damages to the plaintiff's finances or reputation. And lastly, the statement has to have been made with actual malice. Actual malice is a legal standard. It's the highest legal standard for defamation claims, and it's only applied to public figures. Basically, it means that the defamatory statements have to be proven to have been made with the existing knowledge that these statements were false. Now, the first hurdle of Ethan and Mutahar's lawsuit threat is establishing that claim 1, that they backed the genocide, evidenced by my video's title and thumbnail, is a provably false statement of fact. They immediately fail here, though, because it's not a statement of fact, it's an opinion. It's the conclusion of the arguments and evidence I presented in my video. In defamation cases, when distinguishing between opinion and fact, the broader context of where
oh, that's funny.
The statements were made must be considered. In the cease and desist, the lawyer they paid to write it for them chose to ignore this broader context, opting instead to single out one word in the video's title, the word backed, characterize that word using one definition from a single source, and then argue that that word, solely using the definition they've interpreted it to mean, is a statement of fact and also a false one. And not only that, but this falsehood is one that I lied about maliciously.
HG lawsuit is some of the most disappointing internet turnaround beyond everything else. I think what's also been additionally disappointing is the lack of interest from people who literally farmed Ethan for years for things that were valid and things that were invalid, right? For years, because they knew that that was a way that they could butter their bread, okay? Constantly making videos about Ethan Klein's downfall. All of those drama slop tubers, the moment that Ethan changed targets and started attacking members of the left over their coverage of Israel's genocide, at that very moment, every single one of these charlatans who did not actually delete any of their previous videos, by the way, they're still up. They have tens of millions of views on each and every single one of them. They turned around and they offered full and unconditional support. You had people that were calling Gila a horse face over and over again that were now saying like, well, you know, Ethan is actually on the right side. He's on the right side of history. And none of them looked at the situation where Ethan was behaving in a way that was not only unstable, but also completely repulsive and indefensible, doing things that they normally would have loved if he was actually directing this angst or animosity towards, like, I don't know, Keemstar or whatever. And none of them said a single goddamn thing because all of a sudden they were like, oh, well, there's a much worse villain here that's involved. And it's like, I don't know, Frogan and people like myself or people like Noah Samsen. So that Hasan, they're just going to claim you're trying to do guilt by association. Why do you think this would work on them? Enemy of my enemy applies better than that, in my opinion. No, I'm not even talking about Ethan, guilt by association in that regard. Even though they 100% would not apply that same standard if I were to drop my own personal moral convictions and find myself completely aligned with the Nicholas Fuenteses and the Candace Owenses and the Myron Gaineses of the world, because like they say that they're pro-Palestine, they say that they're anti-Israel. There's a reason why I don't do that. And the reason for why is because they're anti-Semitic. They don't like Ethan Klein either, you know? So why don't I align with them, even though Ethan, who claims to be combating anti-Semitism, has no issue aligning with anti-Semites and offering them platforms with regular frequency? Do you not understand? Ethan Klein, in our conversation, literally said he has respect for Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes because at least they're honest about their anti-Semitism, whereas his imagined anti-Semitism of me is actually far more nefarious, far more dangerous. That was his opinion. He said he respects Candace Owens. He said he respects Nicholas Fuentes. That's a real thing that he said. Yeah, could you imagine me joining forces with the Andrew Tates of the world and being like, you know what? Let's let bygones be bygones. Sure, you Heil Hitler with regular frequency, but you also claim to be pro-Palestine. Attack Ethan Klein for me, please, Andrew Tate. Imagine if I did that. I would get a lot of clout off of that. I would get a lot of play off of that. All of the people that normally despise me on that side of the internet would turn around and go, you know what? Hasan is actually based. He's finally sticking it to a Jewish content creator. Okay? That's what they would say. I get a lot more emotion off of that. The reason why I don't do that is because that's insane. That's an insane thing to do because those people are anti-Semitic. Do you not understand? Also, in the process of me doing so, I'm sure there would be a lot of parasocial fans that would remain, but plenty of people would understandably and for very valid reasons, leave this community. And then all of those numbers would get replenished by an army of psychopathic Andrew Tate fans who are deeply anti-Semitic. But the problem is, I don't want a community like that, no matter how large the numbers might look like, no matter how much fake solidarity I would get, fake support I would get from people like that. That's the difference between someone like me, a person with actual principles and a moral conviction, and someone like Ethan who will cast everything aside in an effort to make internet drama in the backdrop of a genocide. That's it. That's it. But what's frustrating, okay, about all of this, everything that has unfolded, is also the lack of response from a number of different external content creators because they're terrified of pissing off a guy who's willing to sue anyone and everyone. He's just a rich bully. That's it. He is a rich bully. And he's willing to use that muscle, use that money to try and silence anyone who correctly calls him out for doing shit. Do you understand? He's making the internet a worse place, which is so crazy because his most pivotal, his signature achievement was to make the internet a better place by becoming a legal precedent-setting, by creating a new legal precedent for fair use. And now, all of that litigation, it doesn't even matter. Now he's trying to reverse those decisions. Has he actually done it, though? He's facing a massive defamation lawsuit loss. He's going to have to pay up very soon. I noticed he hasn't sent you a cease and desist. Yeah, I don't know. Have you heard that he's going to make another nuke on you that is most likely going to be very personal? If he were to go after your family, would you seek legal action? What kind of question is this, man? Ay, ay, ay. Legal battles of this sort is literally getting in the dirt, getting in the pigsty to wrestle with pigs. I don't want to surround myself with by doing so. Okay? I think it's bitch made. That's the entire basis for this video that Noah Samsen is putting together. Okay? He's already coming across as repulsive to his own fan base, the ones that remain that just want the goofs and gaffs, because He's using his community as a vehicle for stalking and mass harassment. And the remaining foot soldiers that are there just for the goofs and gaffs, which I guess like genocide wasn't enough for them to pull the ripcord, are now annoyed at the unlimited amount of Hasan posts on his subreddit where they're like, can we just stop? Can we just stop with the Hasan posts? It's just ridiculous. Like, it's too much. Can we just get back to the goofs and gaffs, please? There are chatters who are permanently obsessed with drama who want Hasan to sue everyone under the sun. They want Hasan to sue Asmongold. They want Hasan to sue H3. They want Hasan to sue DHS. All they care about is drama because legal stuff is drama. I don't understand like what entertainment you can derive out of suing people like this. I don't understand why that's fun. I guess that's maybe how Ethan made fun. Number 6 on YouTube. People are loving the drama more than his goofs. What do you mean number 6 on YouTube? I don't even know what that means. They just see it as blood sport. Americans are so litigious, dude. It is also crazy. My feed's parasocial because they feel like they're winning through you. Yeah, except you should already feel like you're winning through me if that's your goal here, because I don't even need to do anything. He's just making a fool of himself all on his own. You are not seeing the POV of a rich, smarmy moron collapsing due to legal loss narrative. It's a fantasy because he'd be fine in the end, but that's the imagination. Exactly. It would be a long, convoluted, drawn out, and incredibly costly endeavor going band for band with a dude who has tens of millions of dollars while I'm in the process of trying to, conduct my regular affairs and keep doing news, whereas his content thrives when he's in legal battles like this. This is what he does. This is his entire content. Okay? And at the end of the day, he would probably incur some legal penalties depending on what angle I take in my approach for defamation, but it would not be worthwhile at all. I want to keep covering shit that matters. And yes, I will entertain drama every now and then. I will entertain goofs and gaffs every now and then. I will have IRL streams in the process. But obviously, it's not fun for me. I don't enjoy this kind of back and forth. Yeah, I don't think people understand. Someone with that level of wealth can keep this going endlessly, okay? Think about it this way. He is so wealthy that he is able to withstand a defamation lawsuit from a billionaire, okay? A billionaire that he has actively pursued and apparently defamed is currently in the process of suing him, and it's taken years. And even though he probably is going to lose that lawsuit, it still doesn't matter. Think about all the time that it took to get to this point. Think about all the time that it took to get to this point and what he did in that process. It was a 4-year process. He made content out of it every step of the way. Now that he's on the verge of losing it, he shut the up about it. He doesn't talk about it at all because it's over. The content part is over. Do you think it would be appealing if I were to... Do you think it would be appealing if I were to change the trajectory of my political commentary career and become a fat little piglet that only cares about endless drama and endless litigation? I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to be that person. Okay? That's it. Especially because it would help him more than it would help me. It would hurt me in the process. It would hurt my goals. They fantasize about Richie Torres making you testify in front of Congress. They're trying to bait you into suing someone because they think if they can just expose you and your worldview to a large audience of normies, then the truth will be on their side. They're delusional. I know. That's what's so nuts about it, is that that's why they constantly find themselves at odds with the reality when they're like, why doesn't nobody understand? Like, this guy is a bad guy. This guy is a bad guy. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is exactly how slop tubers operate. Why do you cover this conflict if you don't give a shit about it? Because it's attached to the most viral YouTube drama in the last decade. Something I care about significantly more given my content. It will bring your credibility. What? No, it will burn my credibility. The very fact that I even entertain it as long as I have is already probably doing reputational damage. There are plenty of serious people who look at that back and forth that took place that was, 5 hours long and go, why the did Hasan entertain this? There were definitely people, including that guy in the West Bank, who was like, both of these guys, our people are dying, and they're having a back and forth drama conversation amidst a ongoing blockade that is starving the Gazan population. And that person is correct. That person is correct. That person is not wrong. Are you kidding me? Imagine if that was my content every day. I'm sure plenty of out of touch, annoying, bored, drama-obsessed Westerners would finally find themselves interested in this in ways that they never thought they would be, because that's all they care about. But this is precisely the reason why I don't also entertain the toxic blood sport aspect of debate culture, because I don't think it's productive. I don't think it's productive in getting people to start the journey of learning, okay? To helping people understand the way I see the world, urging them to go out and organize, to try to put an end to all of these unjustifiable things that are happening, okay? That's it. And I hope you guys understand that. It is, I mean, I don't think it's a profound waste of time. Like talking to Ethan that one time is not that bad, because ultimately it showed a lot of people what his actual care is in this situation. But the reality of the matter is, a lot of people are just like Ethan. They don't give a shit. They just care about the drama aspect. There's no way to conceptualize entire city blocks burning. There's no way for a Westerner living in like Connecticut to conceptualize an entire population being starved and ethnically cleansed. They lack empathy. They think those people maybe kind of deserved it. Even if they think what Israel is doing is horrifying, they're much closer to the average Israeli person than they are to the average Palestinian person in Gaza. So for them, this is a fun little way to keep yourself both entertained, preoccupied, and also makes you feel like you're learning about things. That's why a lot of people engage in debate. This is why it's a foolhardy endeavor. And I always criticize Jubilee for this, where it's like, we placed 20 black people against a Klansman. And it's like, okay, those 20 black people have to sit there and defend their humanity. The Klansman just has to sit there and be like, well, you ain't human. That's it. It's drama for the Klansman. It's real life for the black people. It's a constant recycling of all of the dangerous narratives that have plagued their entire existence, that have plagued their history, but also certainly still harms them in contemporary society. That's it. I try to offer a voice to people that don't have it in mainstream discourse. It's not just drama for me. I care about these things. That's the reason why I do it. I don't do this because like this is going to get me endless amounts of clout, as some people cynically claim, because they're projecting. The only thing they care about is clout. So they're like, Hasan must be doing this for clout. Or whenever people say, oh, Hasan is audience captured. I think post October 7, we proved that that wasn't the case, considering a massive chunk of this community fled in the aftermath. And also on top of that, you know, I incurred a lot of financial penalties in the process, none of which matters, of course. I'm not saying I'm a victim here. I am not. I am far from a victim. I'm an immensely privileged person, and I'm still trying to use that privilege, regardless of what happens, to try and communicate the position of people that are being slaughtered, okay? If I cared about being audience captured, or if I cared about the financial penalties that I will incur in the process, then I wouldn't have kept talking about Israel from the position that I've been talking about. That's it. That's it. The way I see it is that I have everything in the world. I am one of the top 1 million most fortunate people on the planet. And my tax dollars are going directly to the funding of murdering Palestinian children every single day. This is constantly on the top of my mind. And I know there are other Americans who also feel this way. And I want everyone in America to understand this, so that we can keep pressuring the government to put an end to this, okay? And if I don't do that, then I'm a horrible person. If I don't do this, if I don't talk about these things, if I simply angle it from the perspective of drama all the time, then I'm an incredibly selfish individual. That's the way I see it. And I hope others can understand my position on this. That's it.
When evaluating defamation claims, headlines are not typically treated as statements of fact when the articles themselves explain how this conclusion was reached. That's what my video was for. It was an hour long. I know for a fact that Ethan accused me of defaming him before he'd even watched it, based on the title and the thumbnail alone. If I had to guess, I would say that the decision to threaten a lawsuit came from this knee-jerk reaction to my video's title and thumbnail, and that knee-jerk reaction was never re-examined because it didn't need to be. Ethan has money and time and no one in his life that is willing to challenge him on something like this, especially not his lawyer who he is paying. So whatever he thinks and says is truth. So how do they go about trying to prove this claim of defamation? Well, it's pretty interesting. They actually go with the "no, I didn't" defense. They essentially claim, we couldn't have possibly supported a genocide because elsewhere we have said that we don't. We said that genocide is bad, so we are exempt from any criticism for any other things we may have said that do actually support a genocide. For this point, one of the quotes that they cite is Mutahar saying, "I'm not afraid to say that genocide is wrong." Wow, how brave of you, Mutahar. Aside from that being just false, Mutahar stayed silent on Gaza throughout the entirety of the genocide until it was time to join his friends on a Hasan bad smear campaign. If that's not fear, I don't know what you'd call it other than, I guess, cowardice. But even if it were true, it wouldn't matter. Pointing to examples of lip service doesn't just cancel out other things you've said. Like if someone says that they killed someone and then later says that they didn't, it's not defamation to talk about the first statement without quoting the latter. I didn't think that defense would end up being used by an actual lawyer, but it did, and that's hilarious. Their lawyer is aware of that too, of how unserious this is, as evidenced by his total lack of citations for any case law in this section. This whole claim, the one that's supposed to be the most prominent one, is just blank, and that's because there is no legal precedent for the "no, I didn't" defense. They're just completely going off vibes. The rest of the cease and desist is just sort of funny to read. A lot of it is them saying, "Your Honor, he clip champed me." Your Honor, he literally didn't even watch the video. They spend like 3 pages attempting to debunk a Bad Empanada video essay because I cited it, which is just sort of awesome. It's been said plenty of times already, by Bad Empanada included, but you can't litigate a historical argument in civil court. That's not what civil court is for, and that's not what defamation is. There's one part in the letter where, in an attempt to evidence my malicious intent, their lawyer cites the disparity in the view counts of my videos, accusing me of the legal violation of clout farming. This statement demonstrates that you intended to not just have third parties spread defamatory statements about Ethan, but profit from those defamatory statements. You proved this point yourself when your video entitled "Manufacturing Consent for Genocide" failed to receive many views, particularly in comparison to the first defamatory video. You made the second defamatory video to further profit from your defamatory statements about Ethan. Your Honor, Noah fell off and tried to climb back to relevance by putting my client's name in his mouth. I encourage people to make videos about Ethan because I think the things he's saying are harmful. I think I'm gonna be honest, I think his lawyer is cooking him a little bit. Like, his lawyer is like, "This is my cash cow." Like, it's gotta be, right? Like, it's kind of crazy that he operates in the same like weirdo space that Ethan does, and he's a whole ass lawyer. I mean, the frivolous lawsuit against Redditors, like anonymous Redditors that tried to use the threat of litigation to get them to do like utterly unrelated separate things. Like, that was insane. To me, I feel like any YouTuber that does that to another person, like, if I think about it, if I were to do that, if I were to go after like DDGers, okay, for constantly clipping me out of context, and then hit them with a frivolous copyright suit, and then turn around and get my lawyer to write this ChatGPT ass response and be like, "And you have to tell me, you have to show me conclusive evidence and like unmask yourself and all these other people that are in DDG." Like, how many videos would be made on that? How many of the same silent drama slop tubers would be nutting at the prospect of writing video essays about how insane I am, how power tripping I am, socialism, by the way? Holy Moist Critical would probably join in on that at that point. Yeah, they'd be calling me a pussy. Yeah, this was shocking to me, honestly. Like, it was
it was shocking that his like actual not disbarred lawyer was willing to entertain such a ridiculous lawsuit, basically like legal extortion, okay, using litigation to extort people, while also, dude, I can't understand how no one has talked about this. Like, it actually does shock me a little bit, because like my expectation isn't that like the New York Times is going to write about this, you know what I mean? Because like Ethan doesn't get why all of these like major mainstream press and all these other outlets like don't watch the context nuke and then develop their opinions about someone like myself off of that. That's stupid. That's not my expectation. But this in and of itself is drama slop tuber heaven here. Okay, you got a massive formerly beloved figure on an extended crash out that is literally doing the most insane thing possible, and not a peep from the drama slop tuber world, because they are entirely captured by Keemstar's orbit. They are so goddamn right wing. The only reason why they don't talk about this is because Ethan is currently fighting against a much larger demon for them, someone like myself, someone who they just don't agree with in terms of like their political worldview. Ethan is just radioactive to Moist currently, not enough to merit a call out, but enough to think they're gross, or just him not wanting to be involved because it's lame, but Moist could get there soon. Wouldn't be surprised. I'm just saying, like, it's shocking, because like Nicholas Eat Oreos, his entire work is his entire work revolves around like calling out bad faith actors. What is this? Ethan Klein has said the West Bank settlers are valid military targets, and Ethan's lawyer is a West Bank settler. Ethan Klein thinks his lawyer is a valid military target. The
spreading pro-Israel propaganda talking points during Israel's active genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza. And so far, that's been happening. People are making videos, and more people are being exposed to the arguments against these ideas that I think are harmful. Their assumption here, though, that these videos could only have been made for nefarious, self-interested aims, that's just pure projection.
Nick did say he thinks Epstein is a worse person than you, to be fair, lol. Who? Is that Nicholas Dorios? That's the person you're talking about? Oreo's always been a toxic drama fiend, though. I know, but this is like, he would be eating so much better if he were to actually cover the other side of this. You know what I mean? Of course, he's not going to, because here's the reality, okay? A lot of these guys operate with very simple opinions in mind. If you're nice to me, I will defend you. And they know, given their political perspectives, I won't be nice to them. Ethan, on the other hand, does not give a shit about actual politics. He has no moral compass. He has no real convictions. He just cares about his own petty grievances. He's very selfish. And because he's very selfish, he will literally align with everyone. These guys are quid pro quo. You think if I told Keemstar tomorrow, if I DM'd him and I was like, hey, man, listen, let's let bygones be bygones. Like, I think there's bigger fish to fry out here. You think they wouldn't turn around and defend me? Maybe eventually. Maybe initially they might use that as an opportunity to on me a little bit. But if I just kept hyping him up, he 100% would turn around and defend me as well. These guys don't actually care about anything. They are projecting when they say like, oh, Hassan, all he cares about is clout. Okay, that's it. So if I was more of a calculating sociopathic person, I would just be super nice to all of these drama slob tubers in an effort to get them off my back. They're super transactional people overall. Like, they don't care about politics one way or another. Yeah, sure, they have like right-wing tendencies, but they don't give a about that much. They care about drama. They're drama mercenaries for the most part. That's why they love Sex Pestany so much, or loved Sex Pestany so much. Part of the reason why they loved him is because Sex Pestany will, on the one hand, turn around and be like, I hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump supporters should be all shot, or whatever the fuck he says, right? And then he'll turn around and be like, but Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security actually didn't apprehend Hasan. And if they did, then that was good. I thought you were a libtard. What happened? Like, that's it. It's the same with Ethan. Ethan is like, oh, I hate Hasan for not sufficiently promoting Kamala Harris, but also Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security, I will not be calling out for apprehending Hasan at the border because I am in agreement with them now for this reason. Do you see what I mean? It's so stupid. What is this? Destiny told his friend to go for it. He committed suicide and Destiny laughs about it? What the
His childhood friend Chris was going through a mental health crisis.
And basically he said that he pretty much figured that since he had nothing going for him, he was going to kill himself. And at the time, because of where I was at in my life, we talked a lot about it, and I was like, I mean, like, it's your life, dude. Don't let anybody else control you. If you really feel like killing yourself is the best thing, then by all means, like, go for it. Personally, I disagree or whatever. And then he did it.
His childhood friend
Oh my God. What hasn't this guy done is right. I don't know. I don't. Wait, you didn't know about this? No, I didn't know about this. Are you kidding me? Dude, I have the legion of the grossest losers up my asshole on a daily basis. And what's worse is their fan bases don't even care. Like, they're like, yeah, we're filthy. Anyway. Christ, dude.
Rejection. I think. For these guys, everything is about views and internet fame. You know, everyone is cynical and self-interested, and no one actually believes the things that they say insofar as those beliefs are able to get eyes on their content. There's no way you could be criticizing someone based on any sort of genuine political motive. No, you must just be wanting to jump in on the dog pile, to cash in and grow an audience of snarkers that are there not because they're against genocidal propaganda, but simply because they don't like you. For no reason. Even when you're being a perfect little angel.
They literally put fucking command centers under hospitals. There was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 900,000 Jews were forced to choice, but because they were forced out. The vast majority went to Arabs.
Maybe it's just because they're anti-Semitic. That's probably it. They're probably all anti-Semitic. Anyone that doesn't like me is anti-Semitic. Ethan, through his lawyer, ascribes all of that to me because that's who he is. But, you know, not everyone is like that. Some people just don't like it when you use genocidal talking points because they don't like genocide. And for them, that's a good enough reason on its own to make a YouTube video. What I also like about this one is that, you know, to argue...
I just lost my best friend of 20 years to his eye and his cult. What? Your best friend of 20 years got brainwashed by Ethan Klein? That is insane, dude. You have to have the brain of a potato if you are looking at a guy who is very obviously mentally unwell and going, I agree with that. Like, even on the optics front, there's no way. Like, he must have been pro-Israel, I guess. God damn, dude. Zionism is genuinely a brain disease. My brother became a DDGer and now fundraises for Israel? Oh my God. I have a friend who's very much an H3 Asman fan who I also lost over the Sabra Hummus stuff, but they also said Free Palestine at the end of our last convo. It never ceases to surprise me how unique people are, like how they arrive at like the insanely contradictory positions that they arrive at. That is wild. My brother's a DDGer and he straight up doesn't talk to me. DDGer and he straight up doesn't talk to me anymore because I've watched you for so long. Is a straight cult. What I don't understand is the capacity that white women have for girly pop slop, and how much intense, but still kind of subtle at times, pro-Israeli propaganda they'll take on. Like, that's what I don't get, where people are like the Diddy G, okay? I get that. Like, they're edgelords, they're Kiwi Farms guys, they're 4chan, but they believe that as long as they present themselves as like liberal, that gives them a moral authority to do whatever the they want, be able to say the N-word as white people, like that, and more, and be able to do their psyops in broad daylight. You know, why are you blaming women? Because I'm not blaming women. I'm surprised at the expectations that I have of women broadly is that they're going to be more empathetic than the gross 35-year-old loser dudes who are like IT specialists that spend every waking moment trying to dox and harass people that their god in their cult doesn't like. It's infinitely more shocking to have whole ass girly pops that are just like, you know, I really came in for the Justin Baldoni drama, But I also realized that Islam is a real blight on Western civilization. And therefore, while I think Israel is doing a genocide, Hasan is a far more evil figure than Israel ever could be. He must be using the Israeli genocide as a mechanism to defend himself from righteous criticism. What is the righteous criticism, mind you? He hurt the feelings of my favorite content creator, who on one day will say West Bank settlers are valid military targets, and even go so far as to say that his wife is a valid military target and a terrorist, and on other days will turn around and say Israel actually is still a wonderful, multifaceted, diverse environment that is not the way that Hasan is describing it, and that one day I will show all the girly pops how cool Israel is in the process of a genocide that is unfolding, that the girly pops are supposed to care about, seemingly. Are white women the main fans of Ethan? I'm confused. I think there was a lot of people from like the frenemy side that the frenemy side that just like seemingly are blind to Ethan's routine misogyny. Yeah. Like in my mind, there's like a 35-year-old HR lady who just has bought every Teddy Fresh release, no matter how ugly, and is just like ride or die, and is simply of the mindset that yes, Israel is committing a genocide, but also you shouldn't really say too much about it. And the much scarier people in the region are actually the Palestinians that are being genocided by Israel, but only because Hamas is forcing Israel to genocide them. A totally and utterly unsustainable position, just completely at odds with reality and completely contradictory. Okay? That's what I assume is like the remainder. You got confused, chat. He has a lot of women fans, is what you mean, not girly pops in general. Yeah, no, he does still have that. So much so that some of those girly pops literally tried to dox Noah. They doxed him. They found him on a Bumble and were like talking about literally going on a date with him to ambush him in the date. Like, that is so insane. That is an insane thing to do and think. Especially doubly insane when you factor in that if they were asked straight up, if you knew one of these girls that is like a Ethan Klein stand still at this point, and you ask them like, do you think Israel's doing a genocide? They'd be like, yeah, of course. What the people who literally on the one hand say, yeah, Israel's doing a genocide, but also on the other hand, like people that have spent countless hours talking about Israel, they're in the wrong. And the person that is actually not in the wrong is the guy who is making everything about himself while simultaneously operating a Canary Mission style forum to dox and serially harass everyone who happens to be pro-Palestine. That is crazy. That post had to be deleted by Reddit, not the mods. I don't understand how Reddit had to manually delete that post, but then doesn't delete the goddamn subreddit. Unironically, if Reddit deleted Ethan Klein's subreddit, he would literally be at peace. He would probably have, he would most likely be in a better mental state because he's constantly going in there and getting tuned up by maniacs.
You that I'm self-interested. They cite a video I made knowing full well that it would get shadow banned and demonetized, which it did. If I just wanted views and money, I would not have made that video. To be frank,
my girlfriend's girly pop coworkers at eWatcher, and she told me one day she randomly went on a rant at work, mind you, about you and E's drama, and everyone looked at her like she was insane.
the reason I made that video was on a pretty simple, basic principle, which is being against genocide. And that principle manifests itself in me wanting more people to know about how the media is normalizing this genocide. That same principle is why I made the videos about these guys. It just so happens that when YouTubers are in the thumbnail, more people click on the video. Ethan is aware of this phenomenon, obviously. He's used it for me and many others. It is unfortunate that more people care about what their favorite e-celebs have to say about each other than an active genocide, but that's the frame of reality we're working within on the internet. And I don't know, I think people are doing what they can to try to change that, or at least use it for positive goals, like getting more people to learn about the genocide. And to an extent, for some people, this seemed to work. You know, I got a lot of comments saying they hadn't heard about what's happening in Gaza or about how bad things.
What's this guy say? Holy shit, Israel's
They
f***ed up.
hadn't heard
I didn't know the sentiments was that extreme in Israel.
about what's happening in Gaza.
I always thought Hasan was on the right side of history, but holy shit, I didn't know how bad the idea was. Hasan honestly is insanely composed as a
Or about
commentator.
how bad things actually were until that video was recommended to them. And for most people, the only reason it was recommended to them is because I framed it around what some guys on the internet think about it. That was what I'd hoped would happen. Believe me or don't, it doesn't matter. What matters is that factually, some people learned about the genocide, and they wouldn't have learned about it if I hadn't used these creators as examples. And the same is true for creators like...
I do need to mention something. I'm not blaming the women for this, okay? Do not misunderstand me. My expectation is that women are supposed to have a higher barrier of empathy. That's it. That's what I'm like. I'm disappointed. Like, I have no expectation from the dudes that are in the community, many of which they came after, many of which are like Keemstar fans and shit. Like, those people are gross. The girly pops are now hanging out with those people, not realizing that their community's infested with those people that do like rape review and you know what I mean? Like, they're over here being like, yeah, Hasan is a real misogynist. Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe how misogynistic Hasan is. Meanwhile, what are you doing? You're hanging out with incels.
Like Bad Empanada or Overzealots or Chris Kunzler and more, and anyone else that wants to join in and use the algorithm for good. And they certainly wouldn't have learned about the genocide from any of these creators themselves, because despite their claims to caring about it,
I've been a stalwart supporter of the Palestinian cause for many years.
None of them ever talk about it at all, aside from when they're, you know, basically smearing its opponents and running cover for the country that's committing it.
They literally put fucking command centers under hospitals.
Outside of that, silence. As an aside, I think it's still open to debate as to whether or not this tactic is worth it. Like, is it worth the trade-off to get this information in front of more people when the conversation can so quickly turn from the issues and into creator drama? In this latest chapter, I don't think it was. Granted, I didn't really expect that these people would be petty enough or dumb enough to actually sue me or threaten to, but I probably should have, so that's on me. That debate, though, is open only to people that actually care about and talk about the genocide. Not you, or you, or you, or any of your freak show fan bases. As far as that first group of people goes, the people whose input I care about, they have been mostly supportive of these efforts. Do whatever you can to get the word out to as many people as possible. That's the feedback I've been getting, so that's what I've been trying to do. But again, that might not always be the case, and that is subject to change. Aside from the cease and desist being, you know, a joke, the other main reason I'm down to clown in court is because Ethan keeps proving my point over and over again. Like, every day that passes and every time he opens his mouth on his show, he continually proves that my allegedly defamatory claim that he is backing a genocide is actually very correct. In the very stream he was supposed to be disproving the assertion that he supports genocide, he brought out the most explicit IDF talking points he'd used to date.
I feel like this is a force that's going to help end the war, not keeping hostages and underground and like sending, just continuing to provoke Israel to attack them and putting like military complexes under hospitals. They literally put command centers under hospitals.
The talking point he's using there, that Hamas builds command and control centers.
Yeah, he's pro-Palestine, by the way, stalwart ally.
Centers under hospitals has been Israel's.
By the way, these are the people that community believes are correctly Palestinian. Loner Box goes full mask off, says he thinks giving Palestinians equal basic civil rights is anti-Semitic.
Wait, so well, yeah, I understand that,
why I think it's anti-Semitic.
Okay. So you think it's anti-Semitic to believe one person, one vote now?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you think that is an anti-Semitic belief?
The slightest sympathy for Israel is not the same as supporting complete ethnic cleansing of Palestine, but I'll put that aside. Yes, if you follow the logic above, you'd have to admit that you believe the majority of Jews on earth are as good as neo-Nazis. No. You have to put it aside because I'm asking you a hypothetical law. So if the majority of Jews favored killing and displacing all the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, and I said that that's a fascist position, you're saying that that would make me anti-Semitic? Just clarifying. Might have to think more about it. But you probably would be. If the majority of Jews seriously wanted to kill and displace 5 million people, it would be justified to think there's something wrong with them. Unless you think you can hate most Jews without being a Jew hater. Lol. What? That is... God damn. I feel like even hitting that line to say, like, you know, the overwhelming majority of Jews want to ethnically cleanse all Palestinians in and of itself is like an anti-Semitic... It's like entertaining something that is deeply anti-Semitic to say, like, all Jews. He's saying most Jews don't want what's going on right now, which is an insane position because it's not true. Yeah, like if we're talking about the Jewish population of Israel, there's plenty of polling to suggest that like they either don't care about what's going on or want it to continue or want it to escalate. As a matter of fact, like that's not controversial to say. It's just an accurate reflection of facts.
Not just anti-Semitic in practice, but anti-Semitic in motivation.
I don't think it has to be in motivation. Mostly people have no idea.
But you think because that would lead to the death of Jews in Israel, that's anti-Semitic?
Yeah.
Okay, dude. Yeah, listen, that is unironically, weirdly enough, that in and of itself is a Jewish exceptionalism. It's a Jewish supremacist thought. Like that's like Kahana's thought, I think. Maybe not to that degree, but close to it. Like the if Jews and these filthy Arabs were all living under the banner of democracy, then this would be anti-Semitic because they would kill all the Jews is insane. It's an insane thought to have.
Primary justification for the systematic...
That's Kuiman. He is Jewish.
Like destruction of Gaza's healthcare infrastructure for over 19 months now. That talking point is a justification for one of the key elements of Israel's approach to genocide. It's genocidal propaganda. There's no other way to put it. He is sharing genocidal propaganda to millions of people. A few episodes later, Ethan and his wife Hila downplayed Israel's mass-targeted assassinations of journalists by claiming that the IDF doesn't do that.
It's not like Israel
that is worried
Look,
about
it's not like Israel's going to do a precision strike on Hassan. They don't.
Yeah,
but it is dangerous.
What Lonerbox is really doing is advanced apologia. He's erasing the very idea, not that genocide is happening, that it could be happening, unless you people doing it were worthy of a race-wide dehumanization and justified racially motivated hatred, and there's no way that could be the reality, and therefore they couldn't be doing genocide. Only works on libs, though. Yeah, no, it's saying that, like, there's no way that, like, the overwhelming majority of the Israeli population, specifically the Jewish Israeli population, would be on board with a genocide because there's special exceptional people that would never be on board with a genocide, and therefore there's no genocide, right? Like that's what his argument is. Am I misunderstanding it? No, Lonerbox explicitly doesn't think it's a genocide. Lonerbox defended Baruch Goldstein, the mass murderer who killed worshippers in the Cave of the Patriarchs massacre. That's okay. That's insane. I saw the thing that I retweeted of him not defending Baruch Goldstein, but like talking to the guy who is a Kahanist who was defending Baruch Goldstein, which in and of itself is psychotic. He's erasing the idea that any race could do it honestly with the language he used, that only someone worthy of racism could do genocide. Yeah, this is what I saw. This is a
2,000-year-old building, and you see that people come here, all kinds of Jews. And it's an important site.
Okay. Jewish and Muslim sides are really close together.
Yeah, there's a door.
So when Mr. Goldstein did his thing, did you look at
Dr. Goldstein. He didn't go to doctor's school for you to call him Mr. But
he's talking about Baruch Goldstein. At one point during the propaganda tour, their far-right lunatic settler guy was whitewashing the Cave of the Patriarchs massacre, and Boner Box's only follow-up was to ask how, given the tight confines, Baruch Goldstein avoided harming the Jews there were that day. And he corrects him to say Dr. Goldstein. That is insane. Baruch Goldstein is literally a terrorist by even Israeli metrics. Okay? Oh, God, Jesus Christ.
He was, you have to understand what the situation there was. And I'm in no way am I justifying his act. We completely abhor that act and have no justification for it. That being said, to understand the milieu of what was happening there was tremendous terrorism. He was a known doctor who had treated Arabs and Jews and was a really kind of famous doctor around here. But there was a lot of terrorism. A lot of his friends died in his hands. And the army told him that on Purim of that year, there's going to be a massacre, get more beds ready. And he snapped or whatever happened there, and he shot up these Muslim worshippers. And After that, they separated this building so that Jews and Muslims would not kind of have friction.
No, it wasn't Netanyahu that had a picture of him up in his house. It was Itamar Ben-Gvir. And I think this guy is an aide to Itamar Ben-Gvir.
Between them. Okay, and we also have a deal, as I said to you, 10 days a year they take full control, 10 days a year we get full control of the building.
I was asking because if he was using grenades, would Jewish people got hurt as well? I don't actually
He was
know.
not using grenades. He came early in the morning, and at the very early prayer, he was using his gun. But I just want to tell you something about that, which is the Goldstein incident is regrettable.
Bro, this is literally, like, this is equivalent to, like, talking to a ISIS guy, describe how they slaughtered, like, the Yazidi population or something. You know what I mean? Like, how they, it was regrettable, but, you know, this ISIS doctor beheaded people, and, you know, it's because he snapped. And what was he supposed to do? Like, what he's talking about is a mass murder. It's like Dylan Roof, yeah. No, exactly like Dylan Roof. It is literally like a white nationalist talking about Dylan Roof and being like he was a wonderful boy. No, it's Dylan Roof is a perfect comparison. He slaughtered 27 people, right, in the mosque that were there for morning prayer, and then they killed his ass like a dog in the process. And he literally turned around. He said Mr. Goldstein, which is disgusting in and of itself. And this guy corrected him to say, oh, actually, not Mr. Goldstein, Dr. Goldstein. It would be akin to 29. It would be akin to talking about the Christchurch shooter, which is what the guy did, similar to the Christchurch shooter. Or even a similar comparison would be to defend the actions of the synagogue shooter in the Tree of Life synagogue. Was an American Israeli physician and religious extremist who in 1994 murdered 29 Palestinian people in Hebron in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, an incident of Jewish terrorism. Goldstein was a supporter of Kach, Meir Kahan, a religious Zionist party that the United States, the European Union, and other countries designated as a terrorist organization. Kach was banned less than a month after Goldstein's attacks on account of statements made in support of his actions. Yeah, and of course, he's from Brooklyn. He's one of our guys, okay, as always. Yeah. Yeah, he was a member of the Jewish Defense League, which is also a terror organization linked to Meir Kahan, another Brooklyn guy.
But I want you to know that what we also regret is that Hebron has a humongous history before Goldstein and an important history after Goldstein, and therefore we a little bit resent sometimes that it always gets painted with that brush. We are armed, we live with Arabs all the time, and yet this doesn't happen. This is a you know, a one-time
Yeah, you use the IDF now. The fuck?
Incident. We do not encourage that kind of, you know, act or thinking, and it happened, and there's no way to deny that.
By the way, isn't it crazy that these guys say I'm a terrorist sympathizer, I'm a terrorist supporter? Oh my Lord, dude. And Ethan Klein says this guy is actually a great voice for the Palestinian emancipatory movement.
We can talk about it, but it's important for us to just say, look, that's an event, but it can't paint the whole history of this place.
Why the 10 days a year thing?
Because there are days where the Muslims want to pray big on the Eids, on the holidays, on the festivals, and on the 4 Fridays of Ramadan, and there are days.
Wait, he doesn't even know the significance of the act? Like, he goes, wait, what? Like, why are Muslims... Wait.
Can't paint the whole history of this place.
Why the 10 days a year thing?
Because there are days where the Muslims...
Like, he doesn't understand why, like, the... Isn't this guy supposed to be Lebanese? Like, I know he's not Muslim, but perhaps he should know, if he's a studied scholar of Israeli history, he should most likely understand that during Ramadan is when the Israeli military escalates its acts of violence against the Palestinian population.
Want to pray big on the Eid.
Yeah, Loner Box is Lebanese. That's Ethan's token. Ethan loves tokens, by the way, straight up. He posted about that Yemeni dude that lives in Israel, Luai Muhammad or what? No, not Muhammad. Luai Ahmed, I think. He posted him. He posts every single Atlantic Council Palestinian guy who constantly spends every waking moment on every Palestinian liberation movement. AB is his token good Arab? No, he's not. You want to know why? Because if AB was this token good Arab in the way that a lot of people claim he is, okay, then he wouldn't have to rely on Boner Box. It is precisely because AB doesn't play that role for him that he has to bring Boner Box in, okay? Ethan wishes that AB would play the role of a loyal servant and constantly go, yes, you're right.
On the holidays and the festivals and on the 4 Fridays of Ramadan. And there are days that we have tens of thousands of people that come here and connect to this place.
When you say the walk, that's the same one that the Jordanian one that
it's not a Jordanian walk, it's a local Hebron walk.
Oh.
It's a war zone. Like, I agree, it's dangerous.
It's a war zone. I don't think you guys understand Israel. It doesn't work like that.
They're not.
Yes, they do. They do that more than anyone ever, actually. It's the last possible group of people on Earth that you could claim doesn't intentionally target journalists. This is just pure misinformation that is used to run cover for Israel as it commits a genocide, a major factor of which is limiting people's exposure to the atrocities they are committing. And the most direct way they can do that is by assassinating journalists over and over and over and over again. A couple weeks ago, in a debate with Sam Seder, Ethan continued to expose himself as a propagandist for Israel's genocide. He repeatedly blamed Palestinian resistance for Israel's genocidal actions in Gaza.
They could have done that. They could have ended it after a week.
I mean, Hamas could have ended the war anytime too.
How could have Hamas ended the war?
By releasing the hostages?
No, listen. Israel has said time and time again that the release of the hostages is not going to end their assault on Gaza. They have said this over
I don't believe
and
that's
over and over.
I haven't seen those statements. I've seen the opposite.
At any time, they could have done that.
Well, what has Hamas done to end the war?
Hamas offered
what have
the
they
hostages
done to end the war?
early dawn to say Hamas offered all the hostages in agreement for in response to Israel not coming into Gaza. I mean, there's just to defend Israel's actions.
That didn't happen
either.
It's
being inevitable.
That didn't happen. It did. You're just too stupid to know that, but it doesn't even matter because your audience is also dumb enough not to check you.
What I'm getting to is Hamas, I think they knew that this was the reaction that would happen.
By this logic, there is nothing Israel could do that can't be blamed on Hamas, which is a genocidal logic because they're committing genocide and doing exactly what he is doing here.
As always, nothing justifies October 7, but everything Israel does is justified because of October 7.
Blaming Hamas. This is the logic employed by the IDF and the Israeli state and its propagandists, and this sort of thing is what makes Ethan one of them. In this debate, Ethan also repeatedly conflates anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, which Sam Seder deconstructs pretty effectively, in my opinion.
This will never happen, but in a totally just world, regardless of your background, any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a rabid neo-Nazi, and you shouldn't even let someone be the local dog catcher as Felix was posting if they've ever exhibited any sort of positive feelings about the state of Israel. I'm so serious about this.
Now, to me, that seems like extremely dangerous, dehumanizing language.
Why? That's what's so crazy, because he just like lets it sit there and then he'll be like, because it's anti-Semitic. Why?
About what could arguably be 70% of the Jewish diaspora, and certainly probably people you know in your family.
You go in and you're making this about anti-Semitism by doing this hopscotch about a poll that people had positive feelings that Jewish people do, and then therefore he is anti-Semitic. And honestly, that type of conflation, I think, is so dangerous and so disingenuous. I have had a guy who went to my bar mitzvah, my sister's bar mitzvah, my kid's bar mitzvah, sat at Passover with me 3 or 4 times, call my father and ask him if I'm anti-Semitic. That is just an example, an illustration of conflating when he's clearly talking about Zionism. Was it hyperbole to say any time in life, whatever? The fact of the matter is this conflation is dangerous for Jews. It is a fig leaf and a way of weaponizing anti-Semitism that has enabled Donald Trump to do the shit he's doing, that has enabled the slaughter of...
Initially, Ethan thought conflating Sam was talking about was you. Yeah, probably.
Thousands upon thousands of children and women and men, for that matter. It is not keeping Israelis safe. And this type of conflation, Ethan, is what I find far more irresponsible, frankly, than the idea that he said positive any time.
Not only is this another textbook defense used by the genocidal state of Israel, but what he's saying here is also anti-Semitic. He's using this poll to speak for all Jews.
Now, to me, that seems like extremely dangerous, dehumanizing language about what could arguably be 70% of the Jewish diaspora.
Lots of Jewish people think this thing, therefore criticizing that thing is anti-Semitic. Hey man, no it's not. The criticism is...
Yeah, also, that's insane. Like, one, you're just on so many Jews in diaspora by associating them with like having associating them with having like not conflicting opinions on Israel at all, but like having a pro-Israel position, especially during this fucking genocide. Okay, like, but it doesn't matter. Like, Jews are not magical people, dude. What the do you mean? Like, well, oh, my bad, dude. I guess I can't criticize. I guess I can't criticize people who believe in this ethno-religious supremacist ideology that is currently responsible for exterminating the Palestinian population in its entirety because, you know, you claim that the majority of Jews agree with it. I don't care if the majority of Jews agree with it. What, you think I'm going to stop criticizing it because the majority of Jews agree with it? Who gives a That makes no sense. Like, that's such a stupid position. One, it's a weird own goal here to just be like, you know, all of the Jews love this shit, okay, which is not the case. And secondly, even if they did, what difference does that make? Yeah. For Ethan, if 60% of white people wanted slavery, I'd be racist for not wanting slavery. Yeah. Bro, chill out. You're a terrorist supporter. Your position is the only stupid one. Yeah, I'm not pro-Israel, chatter. I'm not. And guess what? If you were to step foot outside for a brief moment, you would recognize that a lot more people agree with my Israel sentiment than your opinion on the world, okay? Straight up. Straight up. At this very moment, go out and poll people. Be like, do you like Israel or do you think Israel sucks? These are people who are so eternally hugboxed that they just don't understand that their worldview is utterly repulsive. And that's part of the reason why they don't want to come to terms with that repulsive reality, and therefore they won't even openly admit that they are pro-Israel. Because you defend the left, you vote for Biden, dude. What's more, what more do you need to give you hate? What the this guy went from kill cops to because you defend the left, you vote for Biden, dude. What more do you need to give you hate? I will go from first world to third. Wait, what? So the British taking over Native American lands is a war crime? I'd let you me, Omega Lol. Holy what the hell? What a confused little freak you are, dude. Jesus Christ.
It's not about their Jewishness, it's about Israel. The only one here making it about their Jewishness is you. In this same conversation, Ethan blamed Palestinians for Israel's mass killing of peaceful Palestinian protesters with sniper fire during the Great March of Return in 2018.
They were marching in the Great March of Return week after week after week.
Sam, was there Hamas activity at the Great March?
Sinwar was marching. Sinwar was marching with them.
Were people attacking the border wall?
During the Great March of Return, the first dozens of these things before the snipers? No, they weren't. So there were the people for peace.
There was Hamas activity. They were attacking the fence. They were like trying to cross the border.
They were
but not militants. Militants were trying to cross.
Bro, first of all, that's not true. And secondly, God, I wish he had a conversation similar to this one with me in the same way that he had with Sam Cedar, because it's like Sam was much nicer to him, and I'm gonna be 100% like I think I know a lot more about Hasbara and these sorts of specific talking points than most other people do. Oh God, I would have slammed him on this, but of course he didn't. He didn't engage in this at all with me, unfortunately.
the border.
We know where he got this talking point from, his friend Destiny, and we've seen him use that before a bunch of times.
Overwhelmingly peaceful. Just as a quick thing, because people love to talk about the Great March of Return, the Peaceful March of Return. All of this is like the Peaceful Great March of Return. Remember this, okay? This is all the Peaceful Great March of Return.
And we've gone over this before, but the human rights reports were very clear on what happened in 2018. Thousands of people were shot by IDF snipers, hundreds of them killed while standing hundreds of meters from the fence. It's actually pretty insane that this talking point is still being used. Like, it's disgusting. Men, women, children, medics, aid workers, and disabled people were shot and killed. If your retort to this fact is, well, there was separate instances of violence at the border.
They were attacking the fence. They were like trying to cross the border.
Whether you want to admit it or not, you are doing genocide propaganda. You are offering a moral justification for this violence. There are plenty more instances of this sort of thing in Ethan's debate with Hasan, which I could go over, but I feel like you get the point by now. If Ethan is really going to go through with his I don't support genocide lawsuit, he should probably stop using talking points that support genocide. These guys know that what they're doing here is wrong. In his announcement tweet a couple months back, Mutahar said,
Destiny didn't know about the March of Return till you brought it up once in like early 2024. Yeah, I know. That's the other side of this. Like, it is kind of laughable. Look, I will always recognize that Destiny is a gifted orator, okay? And because he's a gifted orator and also endlessly confident for no real reason, he actually can make people believe him on a lot of these issues that he is completely unknowledgeable on. Like, he just doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and he can try and dance around. He can try and dance around a lot of the subject matter that he is completely oblivious to. Ben Shapiro does this very well too. Definitely a lot better than Destiny does, as a matter of fact. So the reality is, he will just learn new things in the process of like being at odds with someone like myself, specifically to find counter narratives, specifically to find counterpoints, and then he'll use the process of that debate to educate himself just on those talking points alone. But of course, when he reaches someone like Norm Finkelstein, who is just as stubborn as he is, if not more stubborn, and infinitely more knowledgeable on these issues than he is, he looks like a moron. I've seen him tell Andrew Wilson to his face that the job he was currently working at doesn't exist, lol. What? That was what Ethan tried to do with a book quote, and he f***ed up so bad. I know. I was going to watch the Overzealots video on the book quote, which was so insane.
I never want to financially harm or bring a lawsuit to a creator.
I think ironically enough, he had me fooled when I first started the self-educating journey until I found you, Law. Ironically enough, if Destiny wasn't just purely reactionary to whatever position I take, he literally, if he was like pro-Palestine and like a big advocate for Palestinian causes, one, I wouldn't even talk about him, okay? I wouldn't talk about him at all still to this day. And two, he probably would have been a beloved, celebrated figure. But instead, because he operates on whatever position I take, he has to take the opposite because he thinks like I'm an unpopular figure in his mind, in his hug box, because he's like surrounded by other sex criminals and weirdos, that he took this like insane position out of pure spite on an issue that he had actually directly opposed in the past when we were friends with one another. It's embarrassing to admit, but he literally took the position just because I was pro-Palestine, and then had to double, triple, quadruple down and just never stopped. Never stopped. Extraordinary confidence is all you need to gaslight an army of leeches into believing every word you vomit forth like D does so often. I also do think I also do think that like people want someone that looks like themselves or behaves like themselves. People want representation, ironically enough. I think that's the reason why that's the reason why he gets any play whatsoever. Like, for a legion of 35-year-old losers that went nowhere in their lives, who are also neurotic individuals, they look at him like a god because they're like, oh, he's like me, but he also, 18-year-old Discord kittens all the time because he has clout and money. And it's the same for like Asmongold in some ways too. He's like, wow, this guy lives in filth. Based, he's a real one.
Creator, but
oh yeah, this was
slander
funny.
like this
I know
is
exactly
far
what
too
video this
extreme
is.
and unchecked. So at this time,
this was a incredible moment. Again, my GOAT, Mark Lamont Hill.
That's so.
To be clear, all Israel has to do is give adequate forewarning. That's the only obligation they have under international law, is to give adequate forewarning, and then to do a proportionality calculation when it comes.
What's adequate? What would adequate warning be in a hospital where people are unconscious, or like at a Shifa where there are premature babies, in a hospital where there are elderly people, and in a machine where there are people who are tied to machines? What would adequate warning be?
I mean, that's going to vary from situation to situation, but
I'm saying in this specific situation.
I mean, in this specific situation, I mean, has Israel like full on bombed a hospital? I don't think they have. What?
El Shifa.
Oh, that's the one from like 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Let me make a note of that.
Yeah, it's the only reason why this one like doesn't go the way he normally goes with is because Mark Lamont Hill is obviously a figure that I guess he respected at the time when he first had this conversation. So instead of immediately starting to yell, which is what he normally does when he's caught in a stupid moment, because he has to keep maintaining this presence that he's like the knowledgeable party, that he's controlling the conversation. When that was that moment of self-reflection, like he was like, oh, I guess, I'll take note of this. What is this dog bait? I'm sad about the damage you've done to your cause. Palestine's caused by your lies about your detention at the airport. Dude, a denial of reality is so funny in this circumstance, because like the Department of Homeland Security came out and admitted that it took place, and these still are like, nah. They're just lying about that too. Everyone's lying, except who's not lying? My favorite content creator.
We're exploring legal action.
Also, why the would I guide you away from being anti-genocide? You know what I mean? Like, what the kind of... I could be the most repulsive person on the planet that still shouldn't change your opinion on what Israel's doing. Are you that much of a spineless individual? No moral compass whatsoever?
Blah, 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 blah. I never want to do this thing that I know is wrong and predatory, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have no principles and you hurt my feelings. Defamation is not saying extreme things. That's not what defamation is, and it shouldn't take thousands of dollars and months, potentially years of our time to get these guys to understand that. It might, though, because they're rich, which is amazing. It's a beautiful system that we have, but I hope it doesn't. And then recall what Ethan said 8 years ago when he spoke about his experience of being sued by a more wealthy YouTuber.
It's unbelievable. It's criminal. The American justice system is just, it's how can you defend yourself? Like, you guys gave us $150,000 to fight this lawsuit. It's not enough. It's not even enough. And I'm just wondering, if we didn't have the backing and support of all you guys and the means to even throw $50,000 of our own money to defend this case, how would we ever stand up to this? It's like those with money in the legal system have the ability to destroy and bully and just defeat people on the grounds of I have more money. And you never would have a chance of defending yourself.
Who does that now?
It's obscene.
It's not a threat. I'm going to sue you.
Yeah, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, Ethan.
Ethan now constantly threatens lawsuits over creators he doesn't like and creators that say things that are mean about him.
When I'm done with Noah, when I'm done with the other one, the big one that's dropping probably next week, my full attention is going to you, George, like the Eye of Sauron. I see you out there, you cockroach. You're full of shit, bro. You're not going to do shit. And I'll tell you who's going to do shit. Me. I'm coming. Okay? So you're not safe either. Just wait. Keep talking that shit.
He has become the villain, and if he goes through with this and somehow manages to succeed, he retains Alan Dershowitz, we get Richard Goldstone on the bench in a Zionist kangaroo court, that would set a pretty bad precedent, I think. If you disagree with someone's opinions about you, you should respond to it yourself, like an adult in the court of public opinion, not pay a lawyer thousands of dollars to respond for you in a pre-written email, video essay. It's pretty clear that he's done most of this stuff to make money and for content, which is kind of funny because defamation's supposed to be the other way around. Like, he's made tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars off of my alleged defamation. I don't know how that factors into proving damages, making a bunch of money, more money than you would have made without it. I don't know, but I guess we'll find out, maybe. I would close with some point about right-wing free speech hypocrisy, because a lot of these people supported this lawsuit despite claiming to want free speech.
I do think people that make up bullshit like this probably do need to have a degree of accountability, especially if they're saying and making claims like that you're a supporter of a genocide. I think this is a very extreme claim.
I love when he's like so self-assured. When he's like, yeah, based, yeah, I love free speech. Yeah, that's why the wealthier YouTuber should definitely sue other YouTubers whenever he feels like he's wronged. Tie people up with frivolous lawsuits. Yeah. Asmongold, when it comes to video game titties getting smaller. Oh, this is a severe violation. Severe violation of First Amendment. Yeah.
Claim to make. It's not like you just say this out of the blue, right? And because of that, I do think that there should be some degree of accountability for it.
But it's not even worth it. This is the most predictable thing that has ever happened on Earth. The Zionist and right-wing lip service about free speech is not an actual principle. Of course it's not. It's a tool. Sometimes that tool is a shield to defend their right to be racist loudly online.
I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people.
And sometimes it's a sword to attack people who criticize them for doing that.
It's not a threat. I'm going to sue you.
None of these people actually care about any of these issues. Their support for a cause is entirely dictated by whether or not they like the people that are supporting that cause, whether or not they have some sort of content creator-based relationship. But that also means we, myself included, need to stop treating it as if it's anything other than that, with the exception being using these morons to educate people. I think that's good. I think people should keep doing that. All right,
Facts.
so anyways,
Agreed.
that's all I have to say about the lawsuit stuff. Ethan and Mutahar, if you are not suing me, that's great. I would prefer that, so I don't have to fundraise for legal fees during a genocide. If you are actually going to sue me, though, please just let me know. I'll fundraise again. You will probably lose the anti-slap motion and have to pay my legal fees, and we'll just be wasting a bunch of time and money, which in the grand scheme of things is not that big of a deal. I'll be fine, but that will be annoying. So let me know, please. Viewers, if you can, donate to the Gaza Aid fundraiser. I think we can raise a lot of money. I'll be going live starting Saturday, May 17th
I'll be on this
at 2 p.m. Pacific time and streaming for a few days and do some guests and other stuff. So stay tuned for the specifics about the times. And sorry for the slop. Sorry, this is a little messy. I'm getting back in the swing of things. It's been a while since I've even sat down to write anything. So coming soon will be more stuff that's actually good. So yeah, goodbye.